Welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Hello, welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. And we are not Dr. Pat today. So we are, this is Susan and myself, Leone, and we are hosting this today, Dr. Pat Show for her. We have a show on the second and fourth Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific called, and that's when I realized the truth and comedy of midlife. But today we are talking about New Year 2022. Have you planned a resolution for this year?
Or,
yes,
the title of the show, New Year's Resolutions and Other Foolishness.
Yes.
So we want to talk today about the difference, well, what it really means to set New Year's resolutions. What's the difference between resolutions and goals? Why we suck at like not being able to keep them a lot. So this was a topic we really wanted to talk about because like Leone said, our show is about the truth and comedy of midlife. So by the time we, reached our mid 50s, we thought we'd have stuff figured out, sort of like New Year's resolutions, and we don't. So that's why we talk about it on our show. So Leone, do you follow New Year's resolutions?
Okay, I used to, and probably like 4 or 5 years ago, I stopped.
Why?
Don't do it. I always failed. And I always thought it was me. So I work a lot with emotional eaters, and everything is like, oh, January 1st, we're going to start. And, somewhere in November, you would start getting ads for every diet there was. On January 1st, buy into this program and spend this money. And by July 8th, you're eating chocolate cake in the closet because you don't want to fail. And so it's just, I realized wait a minute, it's not necessarily me. And then as I started processing why I was failing, I realized it's a stupid date on the calendar. So I stopped doing it. It doesn't mean I have goals. So there's a difference between, for me, goals and picking a magic January 1st.
Well, yeah. And the research shows that, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, and that part of the problem is that it's a date on the calendar. Mm-hmm. That if you're not really ready, and it's just this, we're going to start January 1st. I was curious because when we were doing the prep for the show, I asked my husband, I'm like, what's the difference between a resolution and a goal? I wanted his opinion because we've gotten several different options out there in the ether sphere. But he said, when you resolve to do something, it's never done.
Ugh, it's just forever going.
Think about that. Mm-hmm. When you resolve to do something, it's never done. It's always something that you are working on. But when it's a goal, you can achieve it. What do you think about that?
I'm thinking that's pretty deep. Think about that. So I get it. So, and that kind of falls into really what we are going to be talking about, how to shift the mindset from a goal or a resolution is that is the why. It's to narrow down the why. So for me, using the diet industry, why do I want to lose the weight? We always say, oh, I want to be skinny, or I want to fit into the jeans I wore in high school, or whatever. But there's a why to it. It's an emotional, and it's probably the way of living or a way of life. So that would be the resolution. You're constantly living that state.
The other thing he said that I thought was interesting was, in his words, and he's a very accomplished man. Like he is a very driven, goal setting kind of guy. But he said, like, you can't achieve a resolution. There's no celebration in a resolution.
Yeah, because
resolution, I think, implies willpower. That you are like it's yes, it's about, maybe breaking a habit or starting a new habit, but it implies willpower to make it happen. Versus if you're setting a goal, which then you have achievable steps, you can have baby steps to reach your. So I think my biggest problem is with the word resolution.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not going to argue with you, Susan, on air, but
you can.
Okay, everyone, turn up the dial. Here it goes. But I think it does take willpower to achieve a goal. Having lost 75 pounds, it took a lot of willpower to reach my goal. However, and now I'm getting like, aha, the big picture here. My goal was within a resolution of living a healthier lifestyle, or being more okay with who I was. But in order to get to that weight, or to even feel good about who I was, I had to have the willpower to move through the steps. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm really hanging on to, your husband's definition of a resolution, because I totally am buying into that. But I think it does take steps. So whatever that resolution is, whatever you want to change, however you want to live, it does take a process. You just can't.
Well, I guess I don't disagree with what you're saying about willpower. But I think the difference comes in is that, and we're going to talk about this, and it's like you said, it's all about the why. Because there comes a point where, there's the habit breaking part. Some studies have shown, 28 days to break a habit or start a new habit or whatever. I think the verdict's out on that. I think it's more.
Yeah.
But I think somewhere along the way, your in general, your mind, it's the shift in the mindset of like, wow, I'm not only am I seeing results, but I feel better. Like whether it's a choice, a resolution, a goal to meditate every morning or evening, or to, like, we have a new thing every night at 8:00 we stretch. Yes, we're in that area of aging that we feel it's important to stretch every night. And yes, that has also kind of fallen by the wayside during the holidays and all the kids being home. But
I was like, wait a minute, it's only day 3. How have you already failed?
No, we started it. When did we start doing that? We started doing it about a couple months ago. And my phone, I have a phone alarm to, so every night when it's pretty much just the two of us, because our daughters really don't want to see us stretching in the family room. But the thing is, you start to see results. And then when you start to see results and you feel different, now it's not resolve or willpower that's driving you. It's, wow, I'm seeing a change that feels good. Because if we don't feel good about it, if we're not getting any results,
yes,
it's going to fall by the wayside. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with, the whole hitting the gym after the first year. Do you remember how I don't watch that much TV, so maybe they're still doing it, but there was always the big push for the gym membership. Starting out in January, get your gym membership in $25 a month or whatever. And you go in the January, gym was always packed. packed with people. You can't get in a class, you can't get on equipment. And then by February, it slows down because it's just, if you don't see results quickly in that sort of endeavor, it takes time. It takes perseverance. And I think that's the word I like better than willpower. It takes perseverance and commitment.
Commitment. That's commitment to yourself, regardless that you are fully worthy or worth whatever pushback you're getting from yourself or from the outside to reach your goal or to live your resolution.
There was a couple of years back, I wrote a blog post about anti-resolutions. And I know that was sort of a trend for a while. Like, what are you not going to do? Like, I'm not going to go on a diet, and I'm not going to get a gym membership. And I'm not. So it's sort of like that, drop all of the foolishness of trying to set these unreasonable goals because society says you should fit in this box. How do you feel about that? We have 2 minutes to break.
So I am like preaching to the choir here. Yes. And that's another reason, like, I always like, let's get through the holidays. The holidays were always horrible, like for me emotionally, because it's like, first of all, I'm being told by social media or the commercials that I am not good enough because I don't like how I look. Therefore, something's wrong with me. So I was getting all the diet ads. While this was happening, I'm dealing with family, which is just like such a knockdown. Let's just like, that's 2 strikes right there. I mean, and so, so I very quickly was like, nah, I'm not buying into this. There is really quick before we do go to break on a time frame, like, because right now it's January 1st. So like everyone's like, oh, new goals. Statistically, when you are young, and then it kind of fades out for most people, but in your younger 20s, 30s, even 40s, or if you had children, it's not the new year that you are psychologically like geared to changing. It's the school year.
I was going to talk about that. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's your segue next time. Okay.
Yes, we will talk about when is the right time to start a new goal. Because I absolutely agree. I mean, I know that I'm much more inspired in the fall. So we are talking about New Year's resolutions and quote, air quotes, other foolishness. You're listening to the Dr. Pat Show, and we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is the Dr. Pat Show. I'm Susan Dolci. I'm here with my co-host, Leone Dyer. We have a show on the network called And That's When I Realized, the Truth and Comedy of Midlife. And we are very honored and privileged to be able to fill in for Dr. Pat today. And we're talking about New Year's resolutions and ... other foolishness. Not that it's foolish to have goals and New Year's resolutions, but like I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. To set yourself up to succeed versus, setting up to fail. And before the break, we were talking about, the right time to start a New Year's resolution. And the studies show that most people who fail, it's because they have a resolution attached to January 1st on the calendar. And Leone was saying how there is a whole nother school of thought, or studies done, I believe, that show that, especially if you have kids, as she was saying, if you've got little kids or even high school kids, the start of the new year sort of feels like fall, like when they start school, that would be the time to like set in new habits, new disciplines, new goals. And I really align with that. That's my favorite time of the year. I think in some way, I always try and find a way to go back to school. You know what I mean? Whether it's school shopping for clothes or just starting a new project. I always love that.
Well, and I think psychologically, we have trained ourselves as the human species to start fresh, like at that time of year. For us, it was late August, early September. And think about it. I mean, you're starting a new grade. It's like a fresh start, kind of, and so this new year, you're going back to the same class. You have the same teacher, the same friends, your same clothes, same winter coat. I mean, it's all the same. And I think maybe I asked my husband though, interesting, when he thinks like when something new, when you're starting something, when does that start? So if you're gonna like obviously a new calendar, it's the beginning of the year. For him, because of his work, it's May. It's the end of his, So in his business, everything, not financially really, but the contracts close mid-May. So by the end of May, they're already onto something new.
That's and I mean, usually you think fiscally it's like a September or an end of year, or December 30th, 31st. How many days in December? April, June. Anyway, so I have a question for you. They're 31. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What were the critical factors for you between failing and succeeding? Like when you succeeded at something, or you failed at a goal or resolution, what was the difference between why you succeeded or why you failed?
Well, okay. I will use probably my weight loss. That was my biggest journey because it took forever. It felt like it still is. It was that I felt worthy enough to do it, that it was worth doing, that it was worth it, and that I was worthy of it. However, lately, the last few years, I have attached myself with a word. So I have, last year, I don't mind telling, my word was surrender, which just felt really, really like that's what I needed to embrace as we were going through 2021, because, there was a whole lot there. And so whenever something would rise up, or whenever I would be challenged with it rather than fight it. So for me, most of my goals, it's a mental thing. It's doing it or not doing it, which probably that's everyone's. Not, I'm not isolated. So for me, it was that attaching a word and feeling worthy.
So when I was thinking about this, I also have always, for probably the last 15, 20 years, I've kind of chosen a word. I call it my sacred word. And for many years, it's been surrender. I don't know if I don't know if I will ever give that up, because I feel like that's how I survive the human condition, is just always surrendering to, the next moment, and just being open for miracles to happen, and flowing through life, as opposed to, being blocked and stuck and letting people control my energy. But for me personally, on the things where I could say I was successful at it, I remember it was 5-ish years ago, I wanted to run a 5K. And part of the reason I had that goal in place was because I was in the fits of perimenopause. I was just, so much anger and discomfort, physical discomfort, spiritual discomfort, mental discomfort. I mean, it really does get you at all angles, the wonderful perimenopause. And running was a physical outlet for me to burn off that energy that felt so suffocating for me. And so it was like, well, if I'm going to run, at least I need a goal, right? Like, I just don't want to run around the park a gazillion times. I need to have something to look forward to. And I'd never, ever done a 5K. I was never a runner. One of my high school friends can attest that we would run a block and my lungs would be on fire, and I'd go without me. I can't do it. So to actually run a 5K, which is not the biggest race of all races, was a big deal. But the reason I was successful at it was because, like I was saying, I started to feel good. Like there was a payoff that felt good. The same thing with like last year, kind of changing up my eating habits. Also, because I was, having all sorts of hormonal issues, and just said, okay, maybe it's food. Like, I'm going to start with the food thing. I'm not sleeping. I want to hurt people because I'm not sleeping. And let's see how it's related to diet. And it did not help my sleep, nor did it help my hot flashes. But I did learn a lot about my body and what foods what foods make my body happy and what foods my body can't tolerate very well. And so eliminating some of those things, I felt a lot better. So for me, the payoff has to be really big for me to stick to it.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if it's a mediocre thing, I can very easily just let it go. I think it has to be big. I mean, the change, and it may not be a big change. It may just be waking up 20 minutes earlier to make a morning less stressful. It might be something as small to that as, changing a career. But I think you have to, now I'm going back to, I don't know.
Well, because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like whenever I start an exercise program or anything like that, like my favorite Peloton instructor, I adore her. She says, you are bigger than a smaller pair of pants. And so for me, like when I say it has to be critically important to me, is that it has to solve something that is both physically, spiritually, and mentally taxing. Like getting up, if I tried 2 days ago to get up and start meditating in the morning, I will tell you, I would do it for a week and I would forget about it because I want my coffee more. Like, it's just, do you know what I mean? Like I would, so it can't just be one aspect of my life. It can't just be the spiritual aspect. Like I will probably give that up. If it were just the physical aspect, I would probably give that up. If it meets all of those and as a whole body, then I will stick to it most of the time and actually accomplish it.
And do you think working with someone else makes a difference?
Oh, absolutely. It's accountability.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and that's, so for my husband and I, we do a lot of our goals or our workouts and stuff together. And I find that it's so much easier to have someone to go back and forth with than to try to do it on your own or try it.
Yeah. I mean, I swear I would never reach. I mean, I've tried to, power through with things without some sort of accountability partner. Thank you, Leone Dyer, for being my accountability partner, and Courtney Gutman for being my trainer. But yes, because but I also know that's how I roll. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I fail at something, I'm like, I guess I failed, but I don't want to disappoint somebody else. That's my MO. Yeah. I don't want to disappoint anybody else. I can disappoint myself all I want.
Yeah. But there you go. That's the why. Like you have to set yourself up, like what works for you. So for me, the accountability isn't so much that I don't want to fail someone, because kind of in my mind, I failed enough people. So it's just like, yeah, just get in line. But I want to be successful, and I just need someone to come with me. I need someone to be with me. I need someone that I can, whine to and commiserate with and support. And I need kind of like that cheerleader yet companion with me to do it. But that's excellent though, because that's the why.
Yeah.
Why it's successful for you is you have to set it up. You have an accountability partner, and you don't want to disappoint them. So yeah.
So we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, I want to talk more about why, because I think this is really important.
Yep.
And we're talking about New Year's resolutions and other foolishness. You're listening to the Dr. Pat Show, and we'll be back in a little bit. Hey everybody, we are back. You're listening to the Dr. Pat Show. I'm Susan Dolci, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Leone Dyer. We are guest hosting for Dr. Pat today, which is always fun. And we are talking about New Year's resolutions. And before the break, we were talking about that what's kind of critical to whether you succeed or fail at a goal or resolution is your why, and like how important your why is to you. Because if it's sort of like, yeah, I kind of want to, like I was saying, like if I wanted to start a goal of meditating every morning, I know I wouldn't do it. It's like, it's not something, my why is not big enough. Maybe it will be if I'm under a lot of stress, but right now my life is pretty blessed and pretty easygoing. But I was getting in not an argument. My daughter kept asking me like, why are you got this whole workout thing, and now you're not eating certain kinds of carbs, and you're worried about this or worried about that. And I'm like, and I told her my biggest why, and the why that drives everything now, literally everything I do, is that I want to be a healthy grandma. I want to be, and this is my one daughter who I'm certain is going to have children. At least that's what she says. I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I want to be able to pick them up and, put them over my head and run around and play. I don't want to be tired, sick. I want to be strong and healthy and be a vibrant grandmother. So that is my why that drives everything that I do from a physical standpoint, whether it's like I was saying during a break, my husband and I started a routine of stretching every night at 8:00, because we feel that at 50, it's really or in our 50s, it's really important to stay flexible. And and he's gone through some physical therapy with some injuries and stuff he's had. And they always say, stretching is critical to, keeping your joints healthy and all that. So do you have like one big why that drives most of you? What is it?
Oh, 100%. I want to be active as we get older. My husband and I love to hike. I mean, we plan vacations around hiking trips. And we want to do it. We want to be that old couple that's still out there hiking. And I'm watching my dad. Let me think. I have to think. He's 81, going to be 82, and he moves all the time. He's a little stiff, so stretching would be very good for him. But I want to be vibrant when I get older. If I told my daughter, who also is like, oh, you guys are doing that again? You're not eating that? Like, really, Mom? Maybe not in that tone, but
but that's what we hear in our head when we hear them.
Oh, that's so what we hear. Oh, you're not drinking now? Oh my gosh, Mom. If I told her it was because I wanted to have, be, strong for grandkids, no, my kids are not, they don't want kids. This is the end of the line right here. We did it. But, it is probably, to tell them, you don't have to take care of me. I'm doing this for you, so you don't have to take care of me. They would be like, oh, okay. Well,
all right. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, stop eating. Yeah, take away that sourdough bread. We're good. But I think my why is to be healthy and vibrant and being able to, still at, in my 80s to pick up a canoe and put it in the water and, that's my why.
Yeah. We just paid our last college tuition. Do you hear choirs of angels singing? I do. We paid our last college tuition payment. And now we've got an opportunity to travel and invest, that into our time together. Because side note, we got pregnant on our honeymoon. So we've only known kids and tuition payments for our entire married life. So this is like a whole new sense of freedom that we've never had before.
Yeah. But I think that's really important. I mean, that going way back to the beginning of our show, the difference between a goal and a resolution, and is the why. Like, why do you want that? But for the long term, why is that so important to you? So I would like going, using my example of losing weight. I want to lose weight because, the first thing is everyone wants to lose weight to feel good or look good or fit into the jeans. But the long, deep why is to be healthy or to vibrant or, yeah. So the why, totally.
Yeah. And I think, but like the wanting to be vibrant and healthy is going to get you a lot farther in succeeding than I want to fit into this pair of jeans, because that's a mind game. Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to, like, while we're here talking, and we'll just give a plug for our show. That's when I realized Truth and Comedy of Midlife. Totally. I think we just thought of a topic that we must talk about. And that is like us being like the mindset of dieting or diet restriction and all that, because we both have kids in their 20s. I have nieces. Totally against that. It's a mindset that we have bought into, they have not.
Oh, it's very different for them.
Yeah. So it'll be a good show.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's segue to another type of vision questing, and that would be vision boarding. Not waterboarding, vision boarding. So I have done one singular vision board in my time, in my life, only one, where I've actually, done a digital vision board. And that was for 3 things I've learned. And I can say that it really, I had it up on my bulletin board, and not that I interviewed all the people because you can't interview Jesus, but that it was a constant inspiration that I wanted to make it happen. And I did that. I had that vision board up long before I was even in contact with Transformation Talk Radio. So there's a lot to be said for manifesting with vision boards. But I think how about you? Is that something you do on a regular?
I totally buy in. I do that. And I do it a lot. I actually started doing it with my students. I worked in special ed for many, many years, high school level. And a lot of times the students, by the time they reached high school, they pretty much were being told what they could do or could not do. So a lot of them had lost the desire or the hope to even, and this is so sad, but this is our educational system, another subject, to have that desire to dream. Like, I want to, whatever their dream was, they lost it because they had been told for years they couldn't do it. So they were unable to actually dream or to plan or to think of what they wanted. So I would bring in all the magazines. This is when people would have magazines, and we would sit down on the floor and spend literally a week cutting out, making posters of things they liked, things that spoke to them. And through that would be their dream. And it was it just kind of happened. And then other teachers took it on. So it was one of my success stories. But from that's how I started doing my own healing process.
And like, what kind of success rate did you have, especially with the students? I would love to hear, like.
Well, I didn't graph it, sorry. But I mean, it would be like a lot of it, again, isn't an actual occupation, but it's how they wanted to feel. So they wanted to live independently, or they wanted to have a family, which would speak of being part of a community or being loved, or they would want to feel, and this is my huge thing. When I die, it's going to be on my tombstone, being of service. Everyone is here to be of service. And for a lot of these students, they were told that they had nothing to give. Yet the whole purpose of us being here, living, is to be of service. So it's trying to find that in them of how can they be of service and reach or to fulfill or live their emotion or that security that they were looking for. And so, yeah, I don't know the exact success rate, but it changed their entire outlook and their goals, and it helped them through their high school years to go on beyond just to have nothing or to feel nothing.
I think it's, I think that's an amazing story. What about your own work with vision boards?
Yeah, I love it. I didn't do one this year. I don't do it like for the year. I know that's a big thing. A lot of books have that. I actually have 2 of planners that in the front, it's a vision board. I do it more for how I want, like if I'm redoing my office, how do I want my office to look? And I'll go on and pull from, and now it's digital. It's not really, although there is something really to be said about cutting out and pasting, but, so yeah, I still do vision boards, even for trips. If Dan and I are like, I don't know, where do we want to hike next? I mean, obviously our vision boards have mountains, but it's, like what we want and where we go.
Because I'm going to kind of drift off for a hot second onto something else that we have done not together, but we have both done, which is Danielle Laporte's desire map and core desired feelings. And I guess that is one sort of ritual that I do every year, because I'm redoing it again to come up with, like you said, like your one word is surrender, like that. Again, that's will always be what I call my sacred word. But I'm working on what are the core desired feelings I want going into this year. And I do revisit that every single year, because it does change. It changes as we age. It changes as, as we grieve. It changes as we tackle new projects. And I also like to come up with 3 words for my business. And I don't think those are going to change, but those 3 words have always been serve, inspire, and educate, which is, what you do and what you were doing with your students all those years back.
Yeah, totally. And that's kind of, I mean, I have set, so I think, and we're talking about intentions, to set an intention of how we want to feel or what we want. I mean, to set that goal of what I do that throughout my life. Like even like before even getting ready this afternoon, it's like, what did I want? Like what feeling did I want? And so it's how I pull out my clothes. Yes, I do try to put an effort in, just say may not, but, and so I think that, I mean, I think I'm now at the stage in my life where I am more of a feeling than like the outcome of a feeling than an actual goal of fitting into my jeans of high school.
Yeah. And I think, and I really, with all of my heart, believe that a lot of that comes with age.
Yeah.
Like it's just to sort of sink into that, into, just wanting to wake up with, joy and, and peace and surrender, because we're just sort of like on the other side of all the different stages. And I feel like now I'm embracing the wisdom part of my life.
Yeah, got a lot of wisdom to go.
So one other thing that we really wanted to talk about is I came across, so I'm a huge Marie Forleo fan. We keep dropping a lot of names today. I cannot, I don't know what I guess she's a coach. She coaches business things. She's writing coach. She's got a great YouTube channel called Marie TV. Super, super motivated, funny,
energetic.
Yes. If you want a good laugh, like her videos are so funny and so well produced. But she put a thing in one of her newsletters, and she asked 3 questions. So I'm going to ask you these 3 questions. I'll answer them too. So you're reviewing what's worked and what's failed. So what's one thing you did that you're proud of?
Just one thing.
Just one thing.
Hike the Tour of Mont Blanc.
That was what about last year? I know it's
Last year. You didn't say last year.
We survived a pandemic.
Last year I did not kill my husband. No. We were shut in this house for how long? And I survived. No, last year. Oh, geez. Last year I successfully helped run oh my gosh, probably the fair. Probably the
I was
church
waiting
fundraiser.
for you to say that.
Yeah, for last year. Yeah, the running the fair booth. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. If you're not familiar with the Freiburg Fair, it is a large fair.
Yeah, Google
Lots
it.
of people descend on a small town. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one thing I'm proud of is getting you to do this podcast with me.
And that took a lot of effort. I'm telling you, she wore me down. That's what it was. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but
No,
you're having
you
fun,
didn't.
aren't you?
I'm having fun. It's good. Yeah. It's putting myself out there, which is totally not my thing. But yeah, I like it. It's fun. Yeah.
Well,
The
hopefully our
fair, for
listeners
sure.
like it too. Yeah. Okay. What's one mistake you made and the lesson you learned?
Now, is this from my thing that I'm proud of?
Well, no, it can be a completely different thing.
Oh, a mistake.
What's one mistake you made and the lesson and we don't have to, you know what, here's the thing. Let's be real, people. 2020, 2021 was just one long year.
Yeah.
And now we're like, it's 2022. Like, when did that happen? Yeah, it's a time warp. It is, I don't know about everybody else. I feel like I've been in this crazy, weird time warp. Anyway, so it doesn't have to be last year.
Okay, well,
you go farther.
Now I changed my total answer. No. Okay, so something that what was it again that I made a mistake?
What's one mistake you made and the lesson you learned?
What? I knew these two. I even have the questions written down. I have nothing thought here. A mistake I made and how, I don't know. What's yours real quick and let me think.
Oh, well, no, I got to think. That'll be dead air.
Oh, come on. Dead air.
What's
Okay,
one mistake
I have a lot of
made?
mistakes.
Oh, I know. I don't know if you'd call it a mistake. I should have been more vocal with regards to my mother's care. I should not have trusted this system to work. And I don't mean that in a, like, I'm not that, I believe that people, the experts know how to do their jobs, and I don't pretend that, that's why I trust the experts. I think that was a mistake in that aspect. And I feel like I didn't advocate for her enough, as loud as I could be during a pandemic. And so the lesson that I've learned from that is not to be afraid to be the squeaky wheel. And, not because I think, I was growing up, I was taught, nice girls don't complain, don't be a complainer, don't be a whiner. And so I would always acquiesce to the experts. And over the course of her illness too, I've fought with a lot of doctors, just to say, no, I disagree with that, or we need to do this test, or nobody's listening, nobody's paying attention. And it's hard to advocate for somebody when you can't be in the same room with them. And they can't advocate for themselves because they have dementia. So it's okay to complain or to ruffle feathers, especially when regarding somebody that you love.
Well, I just wrote down, I was writing while you were talking, that'd be a great show for us to do. Also, we need to do the Dr. Pat show more, because I pulled up like three show topics in this last 40 minutes.
I hope you're writing them down. Are you writing them down?
Yeah, advocating for your aging parents. I could write a book, from what I've been through the last 2 years. I think for me, the biggest probably, and again, it's going back to who I am and why I don't feel worthy. And that's all based around size. Probably getting into my daughter and I got into a baking again to survive 2020, 2021. We were doing the pastries, like who could make the best croissants. And
how come you never told me about this?
I don't know. We do it. We just bake. We bake a lot. And she made donuts. We'd be in bed at like 2 a.m. and we would be smelling like, I'm like, oh. And when I was in college, I'm over a donut shop. So, at 2 a.m, I'd be smelling donuts. So I'd wake up and I'm like, and I have to think like, wait a minute, where am I? I hope I don't have to go through my 20s again. Darn it. But no, should be baking at 2 a.m. Yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yes.
What's one limiting story you're ready to let go of before the new year? But now, what's one limiting story you're ready to let go of this year?
That a limiting story is that I am, and this is one that's been happening since I was probably 10, that I am worthy regardless of my size.
I love that one. This one, mine hit me like a ton of bricks the other night.
Okay.
It was actually New Year's Eve, come to think of it. And I was like, what are we going to do for New Year's? We didn't know. It was my youngest daughter was here. Originally, it was just going to be the two of us. And so I had already planned this. And she was like, yeah, I'm on board. I was like, we're going to have a big Middle Eastern feast.
Oh, yeah.
And so I made tzatziki and I made falafel and I made kafka, like lamb meatballs. And I made a Moroccan chicken tangine, and I made homemade naan. Like it was a feast. Like I started cooking at 9 o'clock in the morning so that we could have the afternoon to go shop. And we sit down to eat and we're all eating and it's delicious. And nobody said anything to me about, whoa, this is so good. Or I love nothing. They were having a conversation. And nobody commented on my delicious meal. And I was mad. And I had to spend some time thinking about that. And it's because my limiting belief is that if I'm not being praised for it, it's not good. Like, because my dad was not my dad was like really short on handing out the praise. And so I need somebody to tell me it was good to believe it was good. And so I need to start letting go of the belief that somebody has to tell me that it's good for it to actually be good.
And for you to feel good, worthy's my thing.
Right.
That's probably not yours, but yours is to feel successful.
Yes.
Just know it. Yeah. Wow.
Well, this was fun. So, so we know that resolutions can be foolish or not. It depends on your why.
Yeah.
And if you enjoyed our chat today, you can find Leone and I every second and fourth Thursday on Transformation Talk Radio at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 Eastern. And the name of the show is And That's When I Realized, The Truth and Comedy of Midlife. And we tackle all of those topics that come our way when we're in our mid 50s and on. And we had a great show today. Leone's got a lot more topics for our next episodes. This has been great. Thank you for letting us take this time with you in Dr. Pat's place. It's been a great show, and we'll see you next time.